You guys sent me so many questions, or not like overflowingly a lot, but so many lovely questions, and I'm so excited, and I wrote all of them down here so I can keep checking them and answer you, and I made some tea, and we're all set to answer all of your questions. Yay! Da, 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 da. Question number 1. Feminist Prose and Angry Girl Music asks, great username by the way. Hi Anne, 2 exclamation points. You are lovely and funny and gorgeous. Thank you. And I've got questions. Exclamation point. What were your favorite stories growing up? I know you could recommend something fantastical and fanciful. Anything with black or mixed leaves would be a plus. Well, my favorites were, of course, Harry Potter, like most of the kids in our generation, and it doesn't really, at least in the movies, have any colored leads, but I like to think that Hermione could be a black girl. I didn't used to when I was a kid, but Tumblr has introduced me to this headcanon, and I actually like the idea because she has the whole wild hair thing going on, so she could be black. There's nothing that says that she isn't. One of my favorite books as a kid was My Name is Mina by David Almond, which is a prequel to David Almond's Skellig. It's a little girl's diary, and she's gone through a lot in her life, and she uses the most beautiful language when she speaks of the night and all of the adventures and all of her imaginary friends, and it's just, I felt like I could relate to it. Other things I read growing up, well, I guess I'm still growing up, but you know, as a kid, Narnia books. I can't really think of anything with characters of color in them. I guess there isn't that many, is there? That's kind of sad. Never thought of that before. Anonymous on Tumblr asks, what is your favorite drink? I have 2 answers for this. I adore tea. Tea! I love tea. I'm not a coffee drinker though, no. My favorite kind of tea must be rosebud tea. Even the idea of it is so romantic, and how can you not like anything that tastes like roses? But it's kind of expensive, so we don't really have it that often. I also like green tea, and licorice tea is actually surprisingly good, and chili tea, and Earl Grey. I really like Earl Grey actually, even though it's sort of a boring kind of tea, the kind that you would think that one of those nannies that the kids in Mary Poppins have before Mary Poppins comes in, one of them would have Earl Grey. My second favorite is raspberry juice. Marilla makes very good raspberry juice, but we also have very little of that in the cellar because she doesn't have all the time in the world to make it. So we usually just buy it from the store. But it's mine and Diana's mutual favorite, so it's kind of become a thing. Like whenever we hang out at our place or theirs, we always drink raspberry juice. Anonymous on Tumblr asks, who is your favorite actress? This is such a hard question. I can't just pick one. I kind of want to go with Keira Knightley. Kind of. But then I remember that Angel Colby exists. And then I remember Barbara Streisand. It's not fair. But I might just decide and go with Julie Andrews. Because have you ever met a woman so very full of grace and determination and the ability to do anything that she puts her mind into? Have you? No, because no other woman like Julie Andrews except for Julie Andrews exists in this world. Anonymous on Tumblr asks, do you prefer warm weather or cold weather? This is a very difficult question because I do like all kinds of seasons. I can't really decide because when it's really warm, like when it's really hot, it's uncomfortable, and really cold is uncomfortable too, but I can't decide which one I like better. And if I'm thinking about seasons, spring. Spring is my favorite, and spring is neither warm or cold, or it's sort of sometimes cold and sometimes warm. Spring is like a sister to me. But I also love winters, because winters are quiet and still, and it's like the world is made out of crystals, and summers are just fun. I can just hear, if summer was a person, it would be one of those people that always laugh, and they have the most beautiful laugh, and it's almost like this giggly little sparkles were coming out of their mouth. That would be summer if they were a person. And autumn is just, I can't really explain it. or put it into words, but autumn just has this sense of history in the air. I like all seasons because they're all so beautiful. Okay, Anonymous on Tumblr asks, are you the only person of color in your community? I think this is a bit of a weird question, but guess no. Well, it depends on which community you're talking about. I mean, in school I'm the only kid of color at the moment who's hanging about. It doesn't really affect my life that much. Miss Daisy, I think, is her family's background is in India, and then there's of course Mrs. Lind, who's African Canadian, like me, but amongst the teenagers, like kids my age, if that's what you mean by community, I am the only one, I guess. Lane on Twitter asks, Lane is the name of the girl in Gilmore Girls, right? Have you ever watched Gilmore Girls? Because you totally should, it's a great series. Has Diana made you watch Miss Fisher Murder Mysteries yet? If you haven't already seen it. Well, actually, of course I've already seen Miss Fisher. That's one of the things we immediately clicked on when we first met with Diana. Tea break. Miri on Twitter asks, hey Anne! Exclamation point. Do you have a favorite Jane Austen book? Smiley face. Why do you keep asking for my favorites when I have none to give? You can't make me choose between my children. But I think I'm just gonna have to be dull and predictable on this and say Pride and Prejudice. Probably mainly because it's the first one that I read of Jane Austen's, but also because it's such a classic. I can completely see why it's a classic, and it's just Elizabeth Bennet. She's strong and she's proud and she's marvelous. But then there's also Jane, who is so sweet and just so cool. And then there's Lydia, who's annoying, but she also has a certain spirit about her that I really admire. Of course, I think she partly only made her mistakes because she was so terribly young. If she had been a bit older or had the chance to grow up a little bit before, you know, meeting the guy who led to her doom, I think she would have been a great young woman. We don't really know that much about Kitty or Mary, but I'm pretty sure they were cool too. And Charlotte. Charlotte and Elizabeth are just like me and Diana. Well, not exactly, but you know what I mean. It's just, who doesn't love Pride and Prejudice? And I know that Darcy's a dick, but he is one charming dick with mournful, soulful eyes, probably, and dark hair and stuff like that. I mean, every single person on this earth, regardless of gender or orientation, has a crush on Mr. Darcy. Just saying. Okay, that's all for now, kindred spirits. Thank you so much for asking me all of your questions. I might do another one of these, like, soon-ish, so keep an eye out for that. Bye!